Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another patch notes video for EVE Echoes. Now, what I do in these videos is I go over the patch notes that we've just received, I read them out and I talk about what that's going to mean and what I think that's going to mean going forward for EVE Echoes, kind of like it's patch notes with thoughts and analysis on top as well. Now, if you are just looking for a basic vanilla version of the patch notes, you can head through to the EVE Echoes Discord and check the patch notes channel there, and eventually these will be added into the game as well, and they should show up as you log in, but there's also a little icon on the right hand side you can tap to bring up the patch notes there. Now, as you can see, while I'm recording this, we don't actually have the patch notes in game, we've only got them as per the EVE Echoes official Discord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my usual thing of reading through these notes and giving my own thoughts and opinions onto what this means going forward for EVE Echoes. Are they good changes? Are they bad changes? Are they good changes but not quite far enough? How does this all actually work going forward? And if you do enjoy this kind of content, please let me know by hitting like on the video, subscribe to the channel, you know all of that jazz by now. Anyway, let's have a look then at the patch notes for the 29th of September 2021. And it says here that the maintenance will begin at 0800 UTC plus 0 and will take approximately 120 minutes to complete. During this time, players will of course be unable to log into the game. So, Opportunity in Crisis, a new mode for faction Wargames, virtual test interference. Now, the event time here is September 29th after maintenance through to October 28th at 1600 UTC plus 0. So we have a whole month of this exciting new event. So what's it all about? Well, it says here, among the shipwrecks gathered during the Wreckage Collection event, which was our Into the Void event that we talked about last week, there's a new technology for ships. Capital ships. New Eden's 4 empires have agreed to let capsuleers test the capital ships in faction wargames in order to calibrate and improve their power. During the event, the new faction wargames mode, Virtual Test Interference, is available at a fixed time every day. Ship Data Test Manual event time, September 30th through to October 21st at 0100 UTC plus 0. Complete test manual missions, come out on top in virtual test interference, and upgrade your manual level. Win generous amounts of skill points, insurance points, lots of nanocore training materials, as well as the metal B skin. Event participation method. When the event starts, the ship data test manual can be found on the event page. So if you open up your menu and tap on event page, it'll be there. When the ship data manual reaches maximum EXP, you'll no longer be able to earn more EXP by completing missions. So this is going to be sort of like a battle pass by the looks of things. We're going to have this manual, which is going to have a load of different things for you to test and try out in regards to, I reckon, the capital ships in this new virtual test interference. Now, being a faction wargames mode, I assume this will be on at the same time as usual faction wargames, but it may be on at different times. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that's going to work. But it's a new faction wargames mode. You can queue up, you can try out the new capital ships, and that will be an excellent way of giving feedback. Now, I actually really like this. It's a way of us giving feedback without having to worry about a test server and things like that. Having to log in and out of a test server and worry about missing conversations, etc. that might be happening, or events that might be happening on the live server, does kind of suck. So this is a way to actually test new features on the live server before launch, and that's really cool. And being faction wargames, it means pretty much everyone is available in there as well. I do also like this idea that essentially you have missions in a training manual that you're going to try and complete, and you can earn things like skill points and nanocore training materials, all kinds of stuff like that. It's pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to seeing which ships that metal B skin is for and what it actually looks like. We then have the Navigator schedule, October 1st to October 31st. Last day to claim skill points will be December the 2nd. During this event, purchasing 499 aura in total automatically makes you a participant. Lots of skill points await you. Now, that doesn't actually tell us much there. The way this is worded looks like that's just if you happen to buy 499 Aurum for anything else. And this is fairly common in mobile games, that if you spend money on the game buying something, the game will go, cool, well, you've actually spent this much, let's give you a bonus that way. And that's quite a cool way of doing it. Again, of course, it is Aurum. People always complain when it's Aurum, not Plex. As long as there's stuff in-game as well that you can get without having to pay, I don't mind that it's Aurum. The game sometimes needs real money to be spent on it. We can't get everything with Plex, or we just, we're not paying. And if no one's paying, then the devs aren't getting paid and servers aren't being maintained, things like that. So I'm interested. This is really badly worded, I feel. It just says that during the event, purchasing 500 near enough, or in total, automatically makes you a participant. Lots of skill points await you. I assume that this is going to be all of this above as well, this ship data test manual, that you're going to pay $4.99 to come in and get the track there on the test manual. I kind of hope it's not just, oh, you don't get to try out capital ships in this entire mode unless you drop 499 Aurum. Admittedly, it looks like you will get to keep that Aurum for other things as well, but locking a test behind a paywall, not only do I just disagree with that on sort of an ethical level, it's not a great idea for actual, data either, because all you're going to get is feedback from people who have money to burn, and that is a great way to balance your game around just the whales. It limits your data pool. I don't like that, if that's how it is. I'm not saying that is how it is. It might just be that 499 Aurum allows you access to an additional track and a load of extra rewards, but the way it's worded does worry me, that you're basically paying, if you spend enough to get 499 Aurum, you'll be added into this test, and I don't like the idea that a test is behind a paywall. That really kind of sucks. We'll have to see, though. Next up, though, faction wargame optimizations. The team matchmaking function is now available. Pilots can form a Wargames fleet of no more than 4 people and participate in random matching. The fleet players will have a higher probability of being matched against stronger opponents. Friendly fire lock warning. A warning will pop up when you lock onto your teammates in faction wargames, which it should have done a long time ago. But then we also now have that team matchmaking function. This is something folks have been crying out for a long time. It'd be interesting to watch certain people change from, I only lost because my team sucked, to I only lost because the enemy team was significantly better than us, and that's unfair. There's always something to blame. But I am genuinely excited that we now have team matchmaking in faction wargames. Notably, teams of up to 4 people. Not 5, not 6, up to 4. Which, again, I'm okay with that. It's an interesting way of balancing it to make sure that you don't just get these ridiculous pre-mades. Like if you imagine 10 Tech 10 players, all heavily tricked into frigates, all on voice comms, jump into an arena, and you go up against 10 random players. You either get that whole thing of, 10 random players versus a pre-made, or you have to split queues, which makes queue times worse and things. This is a really elegant way of avoiding both and giving a nice compromise in the middle. You get to bring 3 friends with you, and if bringing 3 friends isn't enough to help you, feel like you're doing better, well, Amarian, God help you. Moving down, AFK penalties, huzzah! Pilots who are away from keyboard on a phone during battles will not be able to participate in faction wargame match for a period of time. Those who keep doing so will face a longer suspension, which will last until the next game period at the longest. I'm hoping next game period there is a week of maintenance. Otherwise, if you just, oh no, I'm not enjoying this faction wargames, I'm just going to AFK out and I can just join in the next one. That really kind of sucks. It's only a few hours between them, and people who want to AFK, I think you do need some pretty steep punishments for that, and I think being able to ban someone for up to an entire week, yeah, that's the way forward for me. But hey, at least they are doing something about it. That's awesome. Faction wargames, I do enjoy. I don't play it nearly as much as I should because I find it quite stressful at times and I'm usually busy doing other things. Being able to fly with friends inside there is going to be pretty awesome, and having penalties for AFK players, that's going to be pretty good as well. Anyway, let's move then on to the optimizations. Number 1, updated estimated prices based on successful transactions in the market. It's the golden one for a patch note, and why ultimately the fake patch notes are probably fake, because they don't include updated estimated prices based on successful transactions in the market. Number 2, a detailed rule is added to the insurance contract screen explaining the mechanics for generating the contract. Now, this is an interesting point as well, because one thing that we were actually informed recently is that the game looks at insurance points paid for with Plex and insurance points paid for earned during events as different things, and it is more likely to generate if you're using insurance points paid for with Plex than it is if you're using insurance points paid for out of events. And considering that most of our insurance points, I feel, these days are via events, it does kind of... I get where they're coming from. Look, I've said this before, and I know it's unpopular opinion. When it comes to insurance, the reason that only 30% of the insurance things populate a new buy order is because you only pay 30% of the value of the ship in terms of IP. Now, if you have those numbers different, if, for example, you only paid 30% of the cost of the ship, but you generated a buy order every time, that's abusable, it causes inflation, it's a runaway system. You have to have that 30% cost matched with 30% output. That kind of makes sense. And I therefore understand that, the cost of using insurance points generated through Plex obviously is far greater than insurance points given to you free. Therefore, insurance points given to you free I see the logic that free insurance points don't generate a buy order because, well, you didn't pay for it. You got it all completely free. But yeah, I didn't pay for the ISK that I got in certain events either, and that still has uses. I didn't pay for the Plex in the growth fund. I didn't pay for the ships. I don't get why they did this. I understand the reasoning, but logically, it doesn't make sense, and I think they need to fix it. I think they're looking into it. I definitely think that needs fixing. Generating more buy orders is important, but you just can't generate too many, or you start to create an abusable system that causes inflation. Anyway, moving on. Number 3, detailed numbers can be viewed by filtering the amount of stations in star charts. Okay, this looks like we can possibly actually see where the stations are a little bit easier, and get some numbers on, which particular... Like, if you filter it to stations right now, if you've got a system that has, 8 stations in it, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. If you've only got 1 station, it's pretty sort of faint. I think they're talking about putting an actual number next to it now, which makes sense. Nice quality of life change. Number 4, closing the combat log detail screen will no longer close the corporation combat log. The corporation combat log? This is, I think, like when you go in and you open up the wallet and things like that, you close it and the whole thing goes down. Again, nice quality of life change. That means closing a nested menu doesn't close all the parent menus, so it's like tapping back and actually coming out rather than closing it all. I'm down for that. Number 5, the maximum number of visits to the marketplace per minute has been increased from 3 to 120. This is that whole thing of if you tap on an item, then you come out and you tap on another item, and you come out and you tap on another item, and you come out again, it'll say market data is being refreshed. That's to stop you just basically, calling for data off the market, constantly causing massive server loads and crashes. Obviously, they've upgraded something in the background there that now means that we can actually get that less. We'll be able to tap through to more stuff. Ultimately, 2 things a second you can tap through to and not worry too much about that. It'll be able to call all that information for the market and generate it, populate it. That's cool. I like that quality of change. It sucks having to double check whether or not something was actually empty or whether you just tapped too quick. Number 6, null-sec systems can now have up to 1,500 people. Low-sec systems can now have up to 1,300 people. Nice quality of life change for battles, especially with capital ships on the way. Makes sense. I don't think we often see numbers that big, but it's nice to know that we can actually do it. Number 7, anomaly message display from pirate detection array will only be visible to members of the same corporation. Now, this I'm in 2 minds on. This is the whole thing that when you jump into a anomaly, it will mark it on the pirate detection array. So when you look at that anomaly, it will say claimed by Captain Benzie or claimed by whoever. This was sort of abusable because it meant someone could come into system, look down the entire list and just go, oh look, there's someone in that one, and they can jump in without having to worry about scanning. It's not a huge thing, let's be completely honest, because anyone who comes with a scanner is just going to be able to find you faster anyway, and even if they don't come with a scanner, they can still just jump into the anomalies one by one. It wasn't saving all that much time, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that. It means it's a little bit safer. The downside of this is that, you know, if you're in one of those alliances that has a central corporation and then corporations for alts, if you've got people who are ratting in a system and they're using their alts, well, they don't get this information. So they might not know that there's someone actually in that anomaly. I kind of wish it was to the same alliance, not the same corporation, but there we go, maybe that's just me. Number 8, after fitting a module, fitting another will record the listed location of the last one. This is that whole thing, if you, like me, you're on a bit of a slow internet connection, you tap onto one of your high slots, you fit something, you then go onto the next high slot and you try to tap the same weapon, there are chances that you literally grab the same module, and it causes this weird visual bug where it doesn't load properly, and it's horrific. It's horrific. So it looks like they are actually recording the positions of the loot now, of those modules, which should help alleviate that. Awesome. Number 9, corporation name and ticker name reserved in the corporation pre-assembly event have been released. All players can freely use the previously reserved names. Only a year and a month on. Since the launch of the game. If you were in the open beta test and the final test, you got to reserve your character name, and certain corporation names could be reserved as well. So now we're getting those released. If anyone reserved a name and hasn't used it, you can now go back and other people can take that name. Cool. Number 10, it is now allowed to trade ships that have been assembled in the corporation hangar with a contract. Awesome. It's nice and easy now. It's a little bit easier to move ships around in corporations. Number 11, the source of anomaly in the pirate detection array will now be displayed directly on the overview. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. It absolutely sucks opening your overview, seeing a list of different anomalies and going, right, I need to tap on that one, but I don't know where it is in space, so I need to tap on it and align to it. Now, which way is my ship pointing? There it is. Okay, is that claimed? No, it doesn't say anyone's in there. Cool, we can warp into it. Now it's just going to have that information in the overview, which, so much better. Number 12. Now when a gravity trap completes its cooldown, it will require the outpost owner's manual confirmation to generate a Nihilus well instead of doing it automatically. Now again, this is a two-sided thing. On one hand, it does mean that if you wanted to just sort of set up a Nihilus space, like if I'm going on holiday for a week, if I'm going out to Masuna for a week, and I want to generate a Nihilus space, I can just generate it, and I can say to people, right, it's going to pop at this time on this day, off you go. And then, you know, I don't have to worry about logging back into the game. If I go away for a week or so, that will populate and people can do it in my absence. I get that it's easy to forget about it and it sucks to then lose it. It's nice here that it's going to generate it, and then I can jump into the game and go, cool, is everyone ready? Do we have a fleet up? Awesome, generate it. And now you've got the full 2 hours. That's a pretty nice quality of life change. The con, to me, isn't huge. It's you can work around it. The benefit is massive, and I really, really like that. It's a good change. It's one of those that now that you think about it, you go like, well, why wasn't it like that in the first place? It makes sense. I love it. Number 13, a prompt will pop up every time you log in if you have pending contracts. Yes! It's finally here. I don't have to check my contracts manually every time I log in now. I'm going to get a little alert saying you have new contracts and you can check it, and oh, that's amazing. We talked about this in a dev Q&A a couple of months back. It's finally here. I am so happy about that. Number 14, changed the safe logoff feature so that players need to finish the process of entering warp before they can disconnect. Now, for those of you who don't know, safe logoff is basically when you log off, if you do it safely, and I'll talk about that in a second, your ship disappears instantly. Very useful in nullsec and lowsec because it means your ship isn't hanging around. If you do an unsafe logoff, your ship can be hanging around in space for up to 15 seconds, if not more, where other players can grab it and destroy it if they're in an area capable of doing so. It's to stop you basically going, oh look, I flowed into a gate camp, oh well, let's close the game down, wait for a couple of hours, once my friends say that the gate camp's gone, I can log back in and my ship will be safe. No, that would be an unsafe logout. You'll still hit the gate camp, you won't be playing the game, but your ship will still be there, it can still be caught, captured and destroyed. What this now means is that if you try to exit the game manually. I don't mean just close the app, by swiping into a different app and closing it. I mean actually going into the menu and selecting quit game, which is the safest way to log off if you are not in a station. What this means is that if you are attempting to enter warp, currently, if you are warping and you go to quit the game, it'll say can't do that. You can't safe log off while warping, but you could safe log off as you are approaching warp, which meant you could kind of just quickly log off and then let yourself autopilot fairly safely to your destination as a safe log off. Other times it would cause issues where you'd log back in and your ship would just be in the middle of like a dead space pocket, and you'd have to warp through there. Basically what they're saying now is that if you're trying to do a safe log off, that whole open up the menu and log off so that your ship disappears instantly, you can't do it while entering warp. You're going to have to wait until you are out of warp completely. Obviously the best thing to do is just to, dock at a station and log off, but otherwise the best thing to do is find a nice safe area, open up the menu, tap quit game, and then let it log off. And it sometimes has a bit of a countdown that will allow you to then do that safe log off. I've heard of people losing ships to stuff like this. Please be careful out there. Number 15, added a combined option considering both ship type and standing in overview custom filtering. Huzzah! This now means that I can sit there and go, right, drones. I don't want to see friendly drones. I want to see enemy drones. I don't want to see friendly drones. So stuff like that you can now filter out, and that's a really nice quality of life change. Huzzah, yay, happy days. Number 16, added a probability page to randomly dropped supply chests. Nice. So it's going to show the actual chances of getting bits of loot, and I'm all for this kind of clarity. It's just nice to know that if you look at a crate, look at one of these supply crates, you can see what your chances are of actually getting a particular item that you may want, and you can make an informed decision based on that. It also allows us to see if something, what the actual drop rate of something is, so that we can then request buffs or nerfs to certain things and actually, provide proper data for it. And that's awesome. I like that kind of stuff. Number 17, added an option for players to open randomly dropped supply chests all at once when they're of the same type and stacked. Huzzah! This is awesome. This, when it says randomly dropped here, it means ones that you don't select an item. One where you just open it and it will give you the loot. This is amazing because if you've stacked up 20, 30, 40, 50 of these crates and you want to open them all, you have to open it, wait to see what it generates, open the next one, wait to see what it generates over and over and over again. Being able to just go open all and see it all go in one go is spectacular, and it's awesome. It's a lot faster, nice quality of life change. I'm hoping this applies to ancient remains as well, just in case anyone is as insane as I am and decides they want to complete the full-on Museum Arcana and maybe have a whole ton of the Scholar Points, just in case netties ever decide that they want to add something interesting or useful to the Scholar Point exchange. Now, I bought, I think it was 3,000 of these off Gramberia and a couple other 1,000 off other people as well, and I had to open all of these one by one. I'm really hoping, I've done it, but I'm really hoping that they actually add an open all to that as well. It'd be so much better. Finally then, for the optimizations, 18, in order to reduce stress on the server, the mining mission progress updates every 120 seconds now in the Concord Pass. This is, again, awesome. It's a fairly nice change. From what I gather, what that means is it's going to be checking how much mining you've managed every 120 seconds. It doesn't really need to be checking much more than that. It's just reducing server load, which can only be a good thing, I think. Looking at the bug fixes, we've got 5 of them. Fixed an issue when insurance orders with integrated rigs were not compensated normally. That's a big one. I know a lot of people have been caught out on that and lost a lot of ISK in the process because it wasn't giving a correct calculation. Hopefully that's retroactive so that anyone who's had that issue can now claim it, and it will be fixed going forward. Number 2, fixed an issue where some corporation flags had mismatched elements. This is the actual banners and things, and sometimes there's visual errors on those. 3, fixed an issue where several non-tradable items were dropped. Okay. I wonder if that means we're getting hull repairers back. That would be cool. Fixed an issue where containers from unanchored citadels weren't displayed in the overview. Yeah, that would suck. Can't find the container of your 18 billion citadel. And number 5, when customizing appearances using nanocores, only skins you have permanent access to can be selected. That's kind of sad, but at the same token, I see why they've done it. Previously, if you had a 15-day skin, you could activate it. For example, a Condor 15-day skin, activate it on the Condor, put the nanocore on, grab that skin, disassemble the nanocore, and then pop it onto a Condor 2 Interceptor, and that 15-day skin would then transfer across to the Condor 2 Interceptor. It was a cool way of doing things, but I also get why they've done it. We're sitting on tons of these 15-day ones. They want the main permanent skins to be the ones you use. It kind of sucks, but I get why, and it's understandable. I don't think I can get angry at that. It's sad to see that trick disappear, but I get why they've done it. My only concern with this, ultimately, is this event at the top. I'm excited about it. I really like the concept that we get to test capital ships in faction wargames. I am just very concerned that you are going to have to spend money in order to do so. Again, yes, as sort of devil's advocate, the way it's worded looks like you will be, if you buy 499 Aurum, you then use that Aurum to buy stuff in the store or convert it to Plex and then use that Plex. You still get to use that Plex, so you don't have to buy, you're not buying the access to the event. You're buying other things, and then that gives you access to the event. It's like, I suppose it's like, oh, you know, if you go to a supermarket and if you spend $50, they give you something free. Like you collect stamps for every $5 you spend and stuff like that. It's not far off that, but it does suck that something as exciting as testing capitals looks like it may be stuck behind a quasi paywall. It's not a hard paywall. It's not, hey, if you want to be in this event, pay up. It's, if you want to be in this event, buy something else and you'll get a free ticket. I still think that sucks, but it's not as bad as it could be. I hope I'm wrong, and I really kind of hope they change that. I'm not going to lie, I really hope they change that. I don't like the concept of limiting data, and I definitely don't like the concept of limiting data to those who choose to pay to be able to do it. That sucks. That really sucks. I know the game, look, me of all people, I know the game needs, actual funding and money behind it. This, not the way. If we're right and you need to pay to be able to enter this event, that is not the way to generate revenue for the game. That actually stings a little bit. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. I just hope I am. We'll see. I hope for the best, but experience has taught me to plan for the worst. Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions on all this in the comment section down below. Obviously, by the time I've done this, obviously the patch notes are going to be live in-game as well. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this, what you think of all of this going forward, of how those patch notes affect your gameplay. What do you think about the virtual test interference? Are you looking forward to trying the capital ships? Are you more interested in the carriers or the dreadnoughts? Is there a particular one that you're looking forward to flying more than any of the others? Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, folks, happy sailing and see you in New Eden.